That's right. Let's fix Immortals. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome. My name's GBay99. I hope you all are having a wonderful day. Today, we're going to be fixing Immortals. I'm going to be taking this job as Immortals' new general manager and head coach and academy coach and everything. And we are going to be fixing this once legendary North American organization. Okay, that's obviously a pretty big task. Let me explain a bit more what we're doing today. So one of my favorite video game genres of all time is the sports management game genre, which consists of games like Out of the Park Baseball, NCAA 14, and the granddaddy of them all, Football Manager. These games usually involve players taking a managerial role at a sports organization and trying to lead their team to success while typically not playing in matches themselves. Players instead will focus on signing new talent for the team, managing contracts and salaries of superstars, and making coaching decisions that you hope will grow and improve the organization over time. One of the most popular ways to play these sorts of games is by doing rebuilding series, where you take typically very unwanted jobs, often for a bad team, but try and bring in new talent, develop them over time, and improve your roster, eventually leading them to greatness. Well, today, we're going to try and do essentially that, but with Immortals and League of Legends. I've created a little database of League players that we're going to be using to try and simulate our way through a few years of LCS. Our goal will ultimately be to try and rebuild Immortals to the once dominant organization that they were not so long ago. I mean, we're not so far removed from when they were topping the LCS standings, but this recent 2020 spring and summer splits have been so bad that they culminated in the team firing their general manager and head coach just a week or two ago. Well, I'm going to try and take that job myself, see if I can do any better. To measure how good our teams are now and in the future, we'll be assigning each of our players a rating. Now, this rating is just meant to be like a Madden or FIFA rating. It's meant to be an approximation of the player's skill compared to their peers, but like Madden and FIFA ratings, they are horribly inaccurate and should not be taken seriously. We're assigning a single number to rate these players, though, because as they get older in age, they're either going to get better or worse, with their rating going up or down, depending on whether they're a young talent who's an up-and-coming star or an older veteran at the tail end of their career. How much they gain or lose is based on our little database calculated with a random number generator, and it has a number of different options for progression, so it might be pretty unrealistic who gets good and who ends up regressing, but that randomness is part of the fun of these games. This video isn't meant to be taken too seriously, but we are going to try and keep it as realistic as we possibly can. These are real players with their real ages, real contract expirations, and whether or not they actually are imports or hard carry type players who might lead our team to greatness. The strategy we'll be using to try and win LCS will mainly have three goals. Firstly, we'll aim to sign and develop young talent, as I truly believe this is the best way to build an LCS team, and it's a lot cheaper compared to going after all-star free agents or imports. We also want to create good teams at every level of competition, not just in LCS, but in lower leagues as well. And then lastly, I'm going to focus mainly on going after carry top laners and hyper carry ADCs to bring us victory. This is just a personal preference of mine. I like it when teams have their pressure coming from outer lanes in the early game, which can spread an enemy pretty thin across the map. So we're going to try and sign those aggressive players for top lane and bot while trying to get a more supportive or passive mid laner and jungler to complement them. Let's rejoin the live commentary, though, in the Immortals War Room and get into this game, starting off by evaluating where Immortals are at the moment with their two main rosters. Currently, we have Soaz, who is a 26-year-old top laner. I have him rated as an 80 because he's an incredibly talented top laner. He is doing super... I mean, he could easily, I feel like if he was still on a European team, he could easily be a top 3 top laner in the West. He has quite a bit of talent, and he's a veteran who's been around for a while, but he is kind of old, so we want to be kind of careful about that, because as we get into the future, he might start regressing in rating. We also have Potluck in the jungle, who is 21 years old, a resident North American player. He's currently rated as a 72 and under contract for about 2 years now, or a year and a half, since we're joining in the middle of summer. But he is a fantastic jungler who's still very young. We're probably going to plan on keeping him for a while. Aika, I don't know how to say his name, Ika, the 23-year-old mid laner from France. I currently have him rated as a 69, but that's, I mean, I have no ill will against him. He's probably going to leave Immortals after this season, go join some middling EU team, make it to Worlds, and then knock NA out in groups. I think he still could be a very good player, but of course he's not been performing super well while on the Immortals roster, so I had to give him a kind of lower rating that reflected that. In our bot lane, we have Altec and Gate, 23 and 26 years old respectively, who are, they might actually be too low rated, honestly. These are some perfectly fine players, but, you know, Immortals has been very poor for the most part, and recently this entire LCS team has been sent down to Academy because of how poorly they've been performing, so I tried to give them some pretty low ratings to reflect that, and we can see that Gate is kind of interesting in that his contract is up at the end of this year. For the Academy team, we have some interesting stuff going on. We have Alarim, who is a top laner, who I currently have rated as a 70, but he's probably better than that. I feel like he's one of the better top laners in Academy right now, but he is starting to get kind of old. He's already 24 years old. We also have Xmithie, who is 29 years old. He's still a great jungler, but I feel like we're not going to be able to hold on to him. Insanity, I don't know how old he actually is. That's why his age is in red. I'm going to just assume he's around 20 years old, and he is a fantastic and super promising mid laner. I feel like we'll probably be keeping him for a while. And then we have Apollo and Hakuho in AD carry and support, who are both pretty dang good, pretty solid players who are, although again, kind of getting older. We're assuming / simulating that we're jumping into Immortals as this general manager position right now. So I'm going to go ahead and swap these players around a bit and show you what I would do if, you know, if I was constructing these rosters. All right, here we go. So after swapping things around a little here and there, this is how I'm going to plan out on finishing off the 2020 summer split. We're going to keep Soaz and Potluck on the main roster, but swap the mid and AD carry and support in bot lane, because right now I feel like Potluck and Insanity, you know, they might actually not be the best players right now, but I think they have a lot of potential to get better, and we're going to keep them in LCS to try and see if we can develop their skill sets. We're going to keep Alarim and Xmithie in Academy because I feel like Alarim, I have no ill will towards him, but I don't think he necessarily fits the playstyle that we're trying to go for. I don't think he can do like the carry-oriented things, or at least that's not how Immortals has used him in the past, whereas we want to have our top laner be one of the carries, as I outlined earlier. But when it comes to Apollo and Hakuho, I feel like, you know, they're kind of older and buddies. I feel like we have maybe a better shot at moving them up to the main roster and seeing if they can win bot lane. Like, Apollo and Hakuho are kind of very similar to Altec and Gate. I don't know if there's that much of a difference between them, honestly, but, you know, this is just how I'm going to set out our roster for the remainder of LCS, and let's go ahead and see if we can win. Currently, Immortals are sitting at 1-6. I'm recording this video about halfway through the weekend of LCS, and things aren't looking so good. Even though the top 8 teams qualify, they're still sitting outside looking in, so I feel like it's very unlikely that they'll make it into LCS. Let's go ahead and say they have like a 5% chance of winning. If we roll a 1 through 5, they win LCS this split. Anything else, they don't. Okay, that was actually kind of close. But we miss LCS, that's fine. That's kind of to be expected. But let's go ahead and prepare this team for the future. All right, so it's the end of 2020 right now, going into the offseason, and let's take a look and see how our players progressed as the year finished out. Here you can see what rating the players were, and then how, just again, the random number generation gave them for what they all got for progression or regression. This isn't entirely accurate. No offense to any of these players. It's just mainly focused around how old the player is getting, and the younger players will be able to progress more. The older players might not progress or end up regressing. And you can see that's what happened to a lot of this roster. Apollo and Hakuho are 26 years old and they are no longer progressing, whereas Soaz is 27 years old and he regressed 2 points. On the Academy team, we have some pretty disappointing results where Altec and Aika did progress a fair bit, but everyone else either regressed or didn't progress at all. So let's go ahead and make some cuts. We're going to be trimming a lot of these players out because I feel like there's a lot more talent out there, and just also looking at the ages of most of these guys, you know, we don't want a 30-year-old on the Academy team. Sorry, Xmithie. But these are all the cuts we're going to make. We are going to cut Apollo and Hakuho, mainly just because they aren't progressing and because they're getting older. On the Academy side of things, we're going to be cutting Alarim, even though I feel like he could still have a fantastic career in LCS or Academy at the very least. But he, again, is not exactly the carry top laner that we're looking for. Xmithie is just getting super old, and I do not want to be bound by his contract for another full year. I would rather develop Potluck. Aika, again, I feel like he has a great future, and he actually did progress 3 points here, but NA has so many great mid laners that are free agents right now in the amateur scene that we're going to be cutting him to make some room to get someone else on the academy team. And lastly, Gate, his contract expires, and we are going to let him go because, again, he's 27 years old, and I feel like there's some better talent out there. So if we go ahead and remove all these players, you can see we have a lot of holes to fill, and on top of that, we're going to add some more holes. You might notice the Immortals and Immortals Academy team is up here, and that's because we are going to be starting a new team called Immortals Forever. This is going to be like 100 Thieves Next, an amateur team that plays in the league below Academy, where we are going to be seeing if we can just continue developing talent and seeing how things go. So this is the exciting point. Let's go ahead and sign some new players. This is really how I would construct Immortals to build them for the future. We're going to be starting off by signing Cow from the amateur team Radiance, I believe he currently plays for. He's 20 in real life, but now 1 year in the future, he'll be 21. For reference, by the way, I'm adding ages at the end of every season, so some of them might not be entirely right, but I have him set as a 67 rated player right now. We're signing him for a couple of years, at least 2 years into the end of 2022, and we'll see how he develops, if he can maybe move up to Academy. We're also going to be signing Asilian, the currently 15-year-old, now 16-year-old superstar Wunderkind, who will be our AD carry that we want to sign as long as possible. We're going to sign him until 2023, expecting him to be our superstar carry in the future. As soon as he turns 18, we'll be expecting to move him up to the Academy roster, but because he's an American and has to finish out high school, we are going to be keeping him on this this amateur team so we can hold on to him for the future. The next signing we're going to be making is a very interesting and exciting one. That's going to be Busio C. He is currently a 16, now 17-year-old mid laner for Polar Ace, who is a fantastic superstar mid. I mean, he could actually become a carry mid laner for us, and we might end up using him as such. You know, if he gets promoted to Academy, we can use him as our substitution for a more passive mid laner in case we want to run a carry-oriented mid laner. You know, maybe the meta will change in a year or two or whatever, and he could turn into a real superstar. So again, another under 18-year-old that we want to sign so we can retain that talent for the future. In addition to him, we are going to also be signing Hayami, who is the 19, now 20-year-old jungler, who currently plays for Mirage with Asilian, so we get a little bit of synergy there. Hayami is also French, and he's going to have a few connections. He was born in France, and I assume obviously knows French, but he is a little bit older, so we're only going to sign him until 2022, but he is going to have some interesting connections with this team. And then lastly, for the amateur team, we are going to round it out by signing Niles in the top lane, who is the best player for the team and a carry-oriented top who currently plays for Maryville University, and we're going to sign him for a couple of years and see how he develops. Moving on to the academy team, we are going to also be signing Shady, who is the support player for Maryville, who I don't know his age, if this is accurate, but I'm, again, just kind of assuming he's around 20 in real life, now 21. He is a great support who is ready for an amateur team at the very least. He could probably be playing for a low-end LCS team right now if any team wanted to sign him from amateur, but he's going to be on our academy team. This next signing, you have to understand, I'm a gambling man, okay? I am a wheel and deal and gambling man, and that's why we are going to be signing Andy Bendy to be our AD carry for our amateur team. So Andy Bendy used to play in amateur for a while, or excuse me, in academy for a while, and he is currently in the amateur scene and might be the best AD carry in the amateur scene in terms of mechanics. He has fantastic mechanics, but he also has huge mistakes he makes with positioning as an AD carry in team fights later on. So what we're going to do is we're going to give him a 2-year deal and see how he develops. I currently have his rating to develop either as much as gaining 5 rating per year, or he might lose 5 rating per year. I don't know, because I feel like that's actually how he is as a talent right now. He could either become like a superstar AD carry in North America, or he could stay in amateur forever. But we're going to assign him for our academy team and see how he develops, keeping it to a 2-year deal. If you saw my last video, you probably understand why this next signing is going to happen. We are going to sign Always Plan Ahead, the 18-year-old, now 19-year-old mid laner, who currently is just, I love this guy. He's currently playing for Supernova in the amateur scene, and he is is the exact kind of mid laner we want to run when we're running a carry top laner, which is also, we moved Soaz down to Academy to finish out his contract, which you'll see why in a moment. But anyway, always plan ahead, expecting him to develop very well for us in the future. And lastly, we are going to be signing, shoot, I actually misspelled his name. His name is TyneX. He currently plays for the Lyon-based team in the French EU Masters League, where we're signing him because if we're going to get an import, he's going to be one of the imports we're signing. If we're going to get an import, I want to get a young import. You know, he's 20 right now, going to be 21. And he's only 70 rated at the moment, which is why we only gave him a 2-year deal. But I expect that he might be able to improve and hopefully develop into someone great. Anyway, though, getting to the main roster, we only have 2 signings to make here, but they are very big and very exciting ones that I'm excited to show you guys. Ready for this? We are going to be starting off by signing Joey at support. This dude is fantastic. He's currently stuck in the amateur scene, but I feel like he's like Poom. He could easily be playing for a middling to low LCS team. He is a fantastic support that we're going to sign to a 3-year deal because I am very confident in his abilities. I currently have him rated at a 75 overall. He's around 21 in real life. Now, 1 year in the future, he'll be 22. And then this is the big signing. You guys ready for this? For our top lane, we are going to be signing Alphari to be the team's main superstar carry that we're going to be building around. This could actually happen. I think Alphari's contract with Origin is over at the end of this year, and us being Immortals, a rich bad NA organization, we're going to throw a ton of money at him and expect to bring him in for until 2024. We're going to try and keep him for a really long time and expect him to be our fantastic carry from the top lane for years to come. We currently have him sitting at an 86 rating overall, and he's only 21 years old. That might seem a little bit generous, but I mean, I feel like he's fantastic. He's one of the better top laners. I mean, when he was on Misfits, right? They almost beat SK Telecom at like 2017 Worlds. He is a great talent that we are going to expect to build around him in the future. So you can see we added a lot of talent to this team, and a lot of these signings have very, very big potential, but you can kind of see the plan that we're going for, where we're using the amateur team to develop some of the younger superstars that aren't even old enough to play in Academy, the Academy team for some of the younger players that we're expecting to turn into great prospects in the not too distant future, whereas the main roster is the players that are kind of in the mid-20s, hitting their peak, with maybe just a couple of guys like Potluck and Insanity who already have some LCS experience now playing for the main roster, expecting that they'll still be able to develop even though they're in the top league. So this has been already very, I feel like we already have some fantastic teams here. Let's go ahead and simulate and see if we're able to win LCS. Our main roster is better now than our previous roster was, but seeing as these are still new signings, let's say that we have a very small chance to win the spring split. We'll say like 15%. If we have 1 through 15, we win the spring split and win LCS. Oh, and we did it! Already, that's how you do it, Immortals. Just sign these players, you win LCS. Shoot, okay, hang on. This video, I actually still have a lot more to go. Let's keep going here and see if we're able to still improve. I guess coming off of as LCS champions, let's assume that we have like a 25% chance. It's most, if this were to actually happen, I feel like TSM, Team Liquid, C9 would all be very they would be gunning for us and trying to make sure that they win Summer. And let's assume that like maybe a 20% chance we win Summer Split. Okay, so 1 through 20 we win. We don't win Summer. Let's assume we made it to Worlds, though, and give ourselves like a 1% chance of winning Worlds. If we roll a 1, we win Worlds. And we don't. Okay, so that's somewhat realistic, except we probably wouldn't actually win LCS here. Still, I really enjoy the team that we've built. Now let's progress these players into the offseason and see what we can do. Okay, so I've rolled everyone's progression, and you can see that it's kind of hit or miss for a lot of these guys. For Potluck and Altec on the main roster, they only gained 1 rating, whereas Alphari, Joey, and Insanity gained 3 to 4. This is like almost unrealistic. I had Alphari with a good chance of of gaining 0 rating with a max of 4, but he gained 4, so he's going to be a 90 rated top laner next split when he's, what, 22 years old? Whereas Potluck, Insanity, and Altec, they're still kind of middle to high 70s, but Altec and Potluck do have their contracts expiring right now, so we have to make a decision on whether we're going to re-sign these guys. Soaz, his contract also expires, and he didn't lose any rating here, but he didn't gain any rating either, but he's going to be 28 years old. We're probably going to have to let him go. For the rest of our academy team, Tynex, who I apologize for misspelling your name, he's gaining a little bit of rating, as is APA, but the big story with our academy team is Andy Bendy. I've mentioned this already, right? Andy Bendy, he could either gain as much as 5 rating or lose as much as 5 rating, and he gained 5 rating for us, so the gamble paid off. He is going to probably become our AD carry of the future. We'll probably be moving him to the main roster. And on our academy team, or excuse me, our amateur team was the one that actually got very, very lucky, where almost everybody gained quite a bit of rating. So I guess looking at this now, when we're going to the contract negotiation table, we're going to have to let Soaz go. I mean, he's getting old. This is not a knock against him as a player, but he's getting old, and we kind of already have our superstar top lane for the future. And we're also going to... We're going to let Altec go, I think. Altec is about to be 25 years old. He's not progressing as much as he could have, which again isn't an indication of how he will be in real life. But here in our little simulation, he's starting to move to his mid, gonna be in his late 20s before you know it. And I don't want to sign him to a 3-year deal if he's not even going to reach 80 rating by the time his next contract is up. So we're going to go ahead and let him go as well. But I think I will re-sign Insanity and Potluck. They are generally pretty young. They've also been playing together for a while, so hopefully there's some kind of synergy there. And yeah, I think this is looking like a pretty solid team. Now let's go ahead and see what we'll do about these holes. All right, so now it is the offseason of 2021 to 2022, and we are going to be signing Potluck and Insanity to 2-year deals. That's going to be kind of interesting. It's 2-year deals because they'll be 25 and 24 respectively once they finish them, and by then we'll be able to see if Potluck is able to progress a bit more, maybe to becoming at least an 80 rated, and if Insanity can continue progressing, or if he starts to level off. We're going to bring Andy Bendy up to the main roster, though. I mean, we can totally let Altec go with Andy Bendy now being a 79 rated and still only at 22 years old. On the academy side of things, we brought Niles up because he progressed pretty well. He's now a 74 rated, and he is hopefully going to be able to do very well in academy, whereas our AD carry and top lane now for the academy and amateur side are open. So let's go ahead and bring in some new players. For our amateur top laner, I'm going to sign Dragoon, who in real life is 18 years old. Now he's 20. He's someone that, again, in real life right now in 2020, he's probably not ready for amateur, but or excuse me, for the academy scene, but he's a pretty solid amateur top laner. So we'll sign him here with the expectation that he's going to be ready to go to the academy team before you know it. And for our academy signing, I have a very interesting situation that I noticed. We're going to trade with C9 to get Tomo, who is one of their AD carries right now. Right now, C9 Academy has this really interesting situation where they have Tomo, an AD carry who is signed until the end of 2022, but they also have King, who is inactive right now because he can't travel to North America, which I assume is because of COVID. So what I'm going to assume is that right now, here at the start of 2022, COVID is solved, and Tomo and King are both in NA ready to play for C9. But because C9 now has 2 AD carries that can start on their academy team, we're going to trade with them to get Tomo for our academy team. Doing this gives us a year to continue developing Asilian, who will then be able to go to academy next year, and Tomo should in theory agree to this because he only has 1 year left on his contract. Ideally, he's going to want to play super well, be a super great AD carry. He'll play for us and continue developing while then being able to hit free agency next year and probably move to LCS. These are both some really kind of interesting and creative signings that I really enjoy figuring these out, but I think it should work out pretty well. And again, we still have a really solid main team, a really solid academy team, and a really solid amateur team where they're all trending upwards and looking very, very good. So now it is the year 2022. Let's go ahead and get into the season. This is now probably going to be the last season we simulate, and we have a really great main roster who already won the spring split previously. So let's assume we have, like, I don't know, a pretty good shot at winning spring here. Let's say we have like a 30% chance at winning spring split. And yeah, so a 1 through 30, we win spring. Okay, we don't win spring here, but this is now another split of our team playing together, and let's actually go ahead and do our progression towards the end of the year. Our progression now has been done, and our main team has gotten even better. Alfari is now going to be a 94 rated. He's going to be the best top laner in the world. Potluck is starting to develop, getting very close to becoming 80 rated. Insanity is going to be at 80 rated. Andy, Bendy, and Joey are both progressing beyond that, although Andy's contract is going to be coming up. Although maybe that means he's going to play even better because he's going to want to get a big fat contract. On our academy team, we also have really great progression. Niles is looking really solid. So is Tynex, who, again, sorry for misspelling your name. APA, though, he's going to be 78 rated. He's close to making it into LCS right now. He could probably play in LCS for another team. And Tomo and Shady. Tomo didn't really progress that well, but he wants to leave and test his waters in free agency. And we will be bringing up Asilian, who progressed up to a 74. Let me go ahead and add all of these here. Okay, so this is what our team's looking like now. Now we have a really solid main roster. Andy, Bendy, and Joey with a fantastic bot lane comboed with one of the best top laners in the world now. With our only kind of our weaker side of our main roster hasn't developed super well, but they're still good enough that they'll be able to hold their own, and they're not meant to be the carries or the aggro players anyway. So let's go ahead and do one last random number generation. Let's say anything 1 through 60, and we win the summer split and make it to Worlds with the #1 seed. 1 through 60, we do it. We did it! There we go, winning summer. And then, okay, what odds do we want to say we win Worlds? The year is 2022, remember, and we have become a fantastic North American team that is resembling the Immortals of old. Let's say we got like a 25% chance, maybe a 30%. A 30% chance of winning Worlds. That might be generous. 30% shot of NA winning Worlds. Let's do it, though. I'm the best GM of all time. I'm going to make NA win Worlds. 1 through 30. We win! Oh, you gotta be kidding me. Okay. What would that be? That would be like a quarterfinals, semifinals appearance, something along those lines. That was still a pretty good showing. Pretty good showing for a team who is currently like close to being last place in LCS. Here at the end of 2022, you can see that we have built some very solid teams. We have a main roster that has just gone to Worlds and probably made it about as far as any NA team ever has, with potentially the best top laner in the world. We were also able to revive the career of Andy Bendy, pairing him with one of the best untapped potentials in Joey at support right now, who have turned into a dominant bot lane. And Andy Bendy, his contract is up. We would probably want to re-sign him, even if we give him a 3-year deal. That's still, he'll still be with us just until he's like 26 years old. He won't be getting all that close to regression yet, I don't think. On our academy team, we have some very young talent that's looking good, like APA and Niles. He's starting to get older, but he's still turning into a really great player. I guess that's the one thing I did kind of mess up a little bit looking back on things now. That was a bit of a mistake that I made. Like, if you look at all 3 of our mid laners, Insanity, APA, and Busio, they are now all pretty much as good as each other, right? They are all fantastic players that could easily be starting in LCS, and at the moment, I currently have like an LCS caliber mid laner in amateur right now, which is probably a pretty big mistake. If this was real life, I guess I would probably want to trade these players. Like, I might want to trade Insanity to another team, bring up APA, and then Busio goes to Academy. We sign another young superstar Wunderkind in mid lane here. Similarly, I guess you can kind of see support. I just kind of had to fill out support with real players that exist right now. So, you know, we have a 23-year-old support in the amateur team, a 23-year-old support in the Academy team who, you know, these guys could easily be an LCS for a middling to low LCS team. So that might not be super realistic, but, you know, we're getting pretty far into the future. By this point, there's going to be more superstar Wunderkinds and solo queue we're going to be trying to scout and pick out, but I don't want to just make up players necessarily. I wanted to do this with real players, but this was pretty fun, and I feel like it's actually kind of cool. We did some cool stuff here that, yeah, I could totally see. Like, I hope you get what I'm trying to do here with this video. This is the kind of thing that I would like to see more LCS teams do, where if we go back to the very beginning here and see what we started with, the current Immortals team is kind of the opposite of what you would want to see in an LCS team, where you have a pretty weird mix of good players with unproven imports, with young American talent that, you know, these guys have clearly been struggling. I mean, the current Immortals team just barely managed to be the last place academy team in North America this past week. So there's clearly some dysfunction here, but there's also no clear road for the future. In the academy team, Immortals currently has 29, 24, 25-year-olds who can't have that long of careers, even if they play till the last possible moment that they can. The teams that we've built, though, have a much better set of age progressions where, you're getting the guys who aren't even old enough to be an academy on your amateur team. Your academy team is used to train players that you're hoping will replace your main roster. If Joey ends up getting some big signing in free agency in a year or something, that's when we want to bring up like Shady or Cow, and same deal for a lot of these players. If Insanity goes to another team, we want to be able to slot an even younger and almost as good mid laner from academy there. We don't just want to be going out and trying to get whoever's available in free agency for the main roster if any of these guys decide to leave. But either way, though, that's just kind of my plan for how I would rebuild Immortals. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This was a really weird video. It took a while to make, but I hope you had fun. I had a lot of fun doing this myself. I will see you all in our next video, though, and there you go, Immortals. That's how you fix your team. I hope you guys all enjoyed watching, though. I will see you next time. Until then, thank you very much for watching. Good luck in solo queue, and have a wonderful day.